Saudi Arabia is rumored to be pumping millions of gallons of salt water, and it is said that they are doing it all underground. Those rumors seem to be true. The Middle Eastern country was once stuck in a constant water shortage crisis, but not anymore. However, the question arises, why would they bury water underground when it is so desperately needed on the surface? As we all know, Saudi Arabia is in the desert, and it is one of the driest countries in the world. Despite this enormous obstacle, the country has done the seemingly impossible by creating an underground river system without having a single natural river of its own. That sounds unbelievable at first, but when you look closely, it makes sense. Saudi Arabia has no natural freshwater sources, no lakes, and no rivers. But since 2021, the country has constructed an astonishing 522 dams. In Saudi Arabia's case, such dams primarily store rainwater and floodwaters, which are then treated and distributed through various water supply systems. These dams collect and store the limited rainfall that does occur, mainly through wadis, which are dry riverbeds that temporarily fill with water after rare rainfall events. Looking at Saudi Arabia's rainfall map, it might be hard to believe that just a few inches of rain falling from the sky could make a meaningful difference in the country's water supply. Yet, surprisingly, they can. At certain times, enough rain falls in a short period to supply entire cities with water. Saudi dams are built to capture these sudden seasonal floods and rare rain events, preventing the water from evaporating in the searing desert heat. If left unchecked, the water would quickly vanish into the dry air because of temperatures that can exceed 50 degrees C, 122 degrees F. To stop this, the dams hold it back for later use. Collectively, Saudi dams now have the ability to store a staggering 650 billion gallons of water. Among them, the Hali Dam is one of the most important. Located about 14 kilometers east of Kayed in the Makkah province, the Hali Dam was constructed between 2003 and 2009 and ranks as the second largest dam in the country, with a reservoir capacity of nearly 249.86 million cubic meters. Its purpose is not only to provide flood control, but also to support irrigation, ensure a local water supply, and recharge underground aquifers. In the Makkah area alone, Saudi Arabia operates around 60 dams, with a combined storage capacity of an incredible 232 billion gallons. Despite these impressive achievements, dams remain only a secondary source of water. Saudi Arabia's main water supply actually comes from underground. Geological surveys estimate that around 26 trillion gallons of groundwater lie beneath Saudi soil. On the surface, that sounds like an almost endless supply, but the reality is more complex. Only a small portion of this water, about 739 billion gallons per year, is renewable. This renewable groundwater is naturally replenished by rainfall and can be used without long-term risk to supply. However, the vast majority of Saudi groundwater is fossil water, which is essentially non-renewable. Fossil water is ancient water that seeped underground thousands or even millions of years ago, back when the Arabian Peninsula was much wetter and had frequent rainfall and flowing rivers. Over millennia, this water collected in natural aquifers where it has remained trapped ever since. Once extracted, fossil water does not replenish because modern rainfall levels in Saudi Arabia are far too low. That means once it is pumped out, it is gone forever. Today, Saudi Arabia draws heavily on this fossil water to supply its cities, farms, and industries. Although it is a blessing, groundwater is a fragile and finite lifeline. The challenge is that Saudi Arabia consumes much more water than it can naturally replenish. Its renewable share is not even close to half of what the country requires. Water is not only used for drinking and sanitation, but also for large-scale irrigation, industry, and even luxury uses such as washing cars and maintaining green parks in the middle of the desert. Demand is enormous, while rainfall is scarce and unpredictable. Some years bring slightly more generous rain, while others deliver almost none. there is no guarantee of consistent replenishment. Depending on fossil water is like spending from a savings account without having a reliable income. Eventually, the account will run dry, and Saudi Arabia risks facing severe shortages as its population and water demand both continue to grow. To slow this depletion, Saudi Arabia has also invested in wastewater treatment. The country operates 99 specialized treatment plants, and in 2019 alone, they collectively treated and reused about 1.3 billion gallons of water each day. The number has been projected to grow by roughly 4% annually until 2050. While this is significant progress, it will still fall short of meeting future demand because the population is expected to increase substantially. This reality forced Saudi engineers and planners to think of alternative solutions fast. Since nature did not provide rivers, they decided to build their own. The idea was simple but ambitious. Pump seawater from the nearby Red Sea and Persian Gulf, then desalinate it and transport it underground across the desert. This gave birth to what has been described as Saudi Arabia's underground river. Of course, it is not a natural river, but rather a vast man-made pipeline system that transports millions of gallons of desalinated water beneath the sands. At about 8,700 miles in total length, this underground pipeline network is longer than the Nile River, which measures about 4,135 miles. Unlike surface canals or exposed water pipes, Saudi Arabia's pipelines are buried deep underground. This prevents water loss through evaporation, protects it from contamination, and maintains stable pressure and flow across vast distances. Earlier versions of the water network were mostly above ground, leaving them vulnerable to heat, dust, and damage. By contrast, the underground Red Sea water pipeline is an invisible river that ensures efficiency and reliability. By 2019, Saudi Arabia's total national water supply network stretched nearly 78,200 miles, though much of it was still above ground. The Underground River Project represents a dramatic shift to a safer, more resilient system. Building this massive underground river was a formidable engineering challenge. To bring water from the coasts to inland cities like Riyadh and Mecca, engineers had to carve through the Hijaz Mountains using tunnel boring machines and controlled explosions to cut through solid granite and limestone. The pipelines themselves, some more than 2 meters wide, were carefully designed and laid to withstand pressure, avoid leaks, and endure harsh desert conditions. Workers had to adapt to extreme summer temperatures above 50 degrees C by working during early mornings or nights. They also had to contend with shifting sand dunes, powerful dust storms, and occasional flash floods. Burying the pipes deep underground not only minimized evaporation, but also offered protection against these unpredictable desert forces. Saudi Arabia's approach to water and sustainability is, therefore, twofold. Secure survival in one of the harshest climates on Earth through advanced water management, and build a greener, healthier future by reshaping the landscape itself. From dams and aquifers to wastewater treatment, desalination, and underground rivers, the kingdom has constructed one of the most complex and resilient water systems in human history. At the same time, through its greening initiative, it is transforming its deserts into fertile land while protecting its people and cities from heat and pollution. Together, these efforts reflect not just a strategy of survival, but also a bold vision of transformation, turning one of the driest and harshest countries in the world into a place where life, growth, and sustainability can flourish for future generations.